So as we've discussed, the seasonal changes on Earth, so the tilt of the Earth, and then the fact that we have differential heating on Earth because of the location of land masses and how they're different in different hemispheres, all of that causes convection currents on Earth to be somewhat more complicated than we might have predicted. And so here on this slide you can see the three main different convection cells that we describe on Earth. And again, this is still kind of summarizing it in a simplified manner, but you can just think of there's three different primary convection currents on Earth. There's Hadley cells. These are the convection currents that tend to dominate in the low latitude areas. And in this area, we see that, you know, there's more heating occurring along the equator or wherever that sun happens to be dominant. So if it's summer, then it might be, if it's summer in the northern hemisphere, the heating might be dominating somewhere in, slightly north of the equator. That hot air rises, and then it cycles back somewhere around the 30-degree latitude. So this is the convection cell that dominates tropical and subtropical climates. The second cell is called Beryl Cell. This is a mid-latitude circulation cell, and it tends to cycle air from around uh, the air that is flowing northward or southern, depending on which part of the which hemisphere you're in. So the air is traveling along the surface around this up to the 60-degree latitude mark, and then it goes up into the upper atmosphere and then cycles back down around the 30 degrees. And then finally there's the polar cell. The polar cell we see air rising and diverging, traveling towards the poles, and then it sinks at the poles and comes back down. So all of these three different cells are causing air to move around on the surface of Earth in a different direction, and that's what's causing these really the crazy weather that we have on Earth's surface, because some of the cells are causing Earth to travel more in a western direction near the Earth's surface, and some cause it to travel in an eastern direction near the Earth's surface, and that causes mixing of air masses and concurrently weather. So what do you need to know about this? Really, if you can remember that there's three global convection currents and they each dominate a different latitude range on Earth, then you're doing pretty well. So then in a nutshell, what we see from these three different cells is that we find high pressure bands forming between the cells, so between the Hadley and Beryl cell and between the Beryl and polar cells around the 30-degree and 60-degree latitude areas. And one aspect of this is that we see in the Hadley cells warm, dry air, then it's spilling over from the tropics. So in this area of the tropics, we have warm, moist air coming off of the equator. The moisture falls out of the air as it travels and cools in the upper atmosphere, and so you're getting a lot of precipitation in the tropics. But then when you get into the subtropical regions, which are around 30 degrees from the equator, we get subtropical deserts. So we see that in the southwestern United States and Mexico. There's a large desert. Similarly, if we just rotate our globe around, we see similar deserts at the same latitude in Africa and the Middle East. So the Sahara Deserts, Atacama Desert in South America, all of these are deserts that are caused as a result of these Hadley cells, where the warm, dry air spills over from the tropics into the subtropics. And so this is summarized on this picture of global precipitation on Earth. We can see these bands of tan and green. These are areas that receive less precipitation. So you can see a lot of Africa, northern Africa, is receiving very low levels of precipitation compared to much of South America, which tends to fall in the area of tropics, and so they're receiving a lot of precipitation. But then if you look in the central and southern Africa, they receive a lot of precipitation. So definitely Earth is not equitable in how it's distributing water. Some areas receive a lot of water and precipitation, and other areas do not.